You're listening to New England Real Estate Journal Radio with Rick Kaplan, New England source for commercial real estate news. This is New England Real Estate Journal Radio on the Money Matters Radio Network and online at moneymattersboston.com.
Welcome to the New England Real Estate Journal Radio Show. I'm Rick Kaplan with Eric Wilson, and we have, we're in this beautiful city of New Bedford, and we have with us Derek Santos, and he is the Executive Director of Economic Development Council.
Yes.
I did that right.
You did.
Wow, first
That's
take.
good.
Good job.
So, and Derek is going to talk to us in this show a little bit about all the projects and all the areas of New Bedford that are up and coming.
Yes.
So what are some of those projects that we'll be discussing?
Well, the first thing I want to welcome you guys to New Bedford. New Bedford is one of the largest cities in Massachusetts, the quintessential urban fishing community. We are the #1 fishing port in the United States. And we have, we're known for that. We're certainly known for our history and Moby Dick, and that's why the National Park Service is here in the middle of our great downtown. But we also have great other industrial and development opportunities. We really look forward to discussing all the opportunities really from north to south. So our business park, which is in the far north end of the city, a 1,000-acre park, 39 companies, great activity going on there, new companies moving in all the time. We just had heat transfer products. They make fantastic products expanding in New Bedford, lots of interest there. Lots of folks love the fact that Titleist golf balls are made in New Bedford.
Yeah,
the business park is a spot for that. A headgear, they make great. If you're a golfer, Titleist, Ahead. The business park is home to that, as well as 8 companies employing more than 800 folks in medical device and instrumentation manufacturing. So that's a big segment for us and something that we're looking to move going forward. As you sort of come down from the business park in the far north end of the city, there's an area of the city that we call the Upper Harbor District. Historic mills, the old sort of textile factories were all in this line in the river. And we've done a lot of good community-based planning up there, and we have an interesting mix of development between abandoned mill buildings that have been converted for residential use, really fantastic examples of the use of historic preservation tax credits as a means to accelerate development where there was been total vacancy and, driving new uses along the river, as well as, at the same time, expanded industrial use. So Joseph Abboud, I think I'm wearing one today. So all Joseph Abboud suits are made in the Upper Harbor. They've added hundreds and hundreds of new employees over the past couple of years. There's another company called Precise. They make O-rings for and other products like that for the automotive, aeronautical industry. They have somewhere north of 90% market share and supply globally. Wow. And there are other Titleist as well has a plant in the Upper Harbor, and we've had some interesting new retail development that's happened, anchored largely by a Market Basket that opened up, and some other retail around there. Just Market Basket in its retail component alone have added somewhere north of 700 jobs. So that part of the city has been an interesting mix of residential and retail expansion, certainly industrial expansion. So we're really excited about that. And then there's certainly more as you come to the center of the city and downtown on the waterfront. Since 2007, and certainly in the middle of the Great Recession, where our vacancy rate was well north of 50%. Since then until now, we've had 60 new establishments either expand or open in the downtown. And that's brought our vacancy rate down from in the mid to high 50s to below 9%.
Wow.
Be able to go check out some of that today. The Whale Museum's putting on a new $7 million addition. There's new waterfront restaurants that have opened, all kinds of new small and interesting retail that's going on. And in the southern part of the city, again, great stuff going on there. But the southern part of the city is anchored by the state's new investment in the Marine Commerce Terminal. Built, so it adds 1,000 new feet of bulkhead to New Bedford, multi-purpose terminal, perfect for the future deployment of offshore wind projects. There are several projects that have leased land from the federal BOMA officials south of Martha's Vineyard, that as those projects progress and move forward, Deepwater Wind is about to do their pilot project off of Block Island, 5 turbines, but their real project, a couple of $1 billion of investment, is in those waters south of Martha's Vineyard, and there are a couple of other large-scale leases. So as we look forward for the future, that's another component that's going really well. So we feel we're hitting on all cylinders, and it's really an exciting time for us here.
It sounds like there's so much going on in New Bedford that I don't know if we have enough time in the show. But all the things that you just talked about, and we'll talk about some of them in more detail in the next segments of the show, but so many of those things just sound like they're just set up for the growth of New Bedford. I mean, they all sound like they're current and very progressive. And I'm impressed by especially the companies that are moving into the area.
Well, we have believe that 2 things are really important to move the city forward. One is a sound strategy, right? So there's never really any one project or one particular industry that you want to throw sort of all your eggs into that basket. So we have worked for a number of years on a good strategy that's comprehensive and citywide, and that's a good fit for New Bedford. So medical device manufacturing, as an example, is a good fit for New Bedford because, one, we've already had some of those companies here, so there's something to start from. But our workforce, coming from a textile background, that sort of blue-collar textile background, those skill sets, those sort of that sort of physical dexterity in your hands, that attention to detail, that work ethic, those all translate very well from one historical industry to a new precision manufacturing industry. So that's really important, to have a good sound strategy that's based on data, right? Based on good data. So we've worked with lots of partners to develop that, locally, and state mass development has been a fantastic partner, as an example, helping us pull that through. Private foundations, Garfield Foundation, Lincoln Policy for Land Institute has been really helpful in some of the land-based planning stuff that we've done. So that's been really, really helpful. And nothing is more helpful than having a mayor who just champions that and is aggressive in that pursuit. So Mayor Mitchell is just absolutely, both everything that you could want in terms of really understanding strategy and operations, and just being a fantastic cheerleader and always, pushing stronger and more aggressive. So that combination is really powerful.
And bringing manufacturing back to the United States is also a big plus. And to be in Massachusetts is even a bigger plus.
Well, on my board, so the New Bedford Economic Development Council is the city's lead economic development agency, but we're set up as a private nonprofit organization. So we have a board of 9 members. 3 of our board members, Tony Sapienza, Joe Nauman, and David Slutz, represent 3 of the city's largest manufacturers, right. Joseph Abood, Titleist, and Precise Manufacturing. So economic development in New Bedford really is done through the lens of those folks who understand what it's like to make major investment. Joseph Abood right now is literally investing in new equipment at their plant. Precise Manufacturing just over the winter made a huge investment in new presses there. So they have a real understanding of what it takes in terms of capital investment and job creation. You mix that on our board with the community members that are on our board, and you have a great balance between major industry, small business community, and that makes a lot of sense in making sure that we're covering all bases and not leaving any stone unturned.
Well, Joseph Abood suits and clothing, I happen to like his the fit. And maybe because I'm a little...
Because you're a little less fit?
A little heavy in the middle. But I do like his clothing. So, and I see that he's also tied in with Men's Warehouse as well. So, he's becoming a more popular name in the designing industry. And Titleists have been around for God knows how long. And the area itself, being right on the water... having all the manufacturing and new development that's going into this area, I mean, this must be a pleasant place for people to come to work as well.
Well, there's no doubt about that. And when you get someone here for the first time, that's always a special visit. We'll usually start in the heart of the city, in the downtown, to give them a context, right? This is the heart of the city. We always take them right down to the waterfront. And it is, it's something that we are all tremendously proud of here. So when you have the #1 fishing port in the nation. You know, it's great to see hundreds of fishing vessels, you know, in port. And to make that connection between whaling and fishing is always something fantastic. The neighborhoods that developed around the historical money from fishing and textiles, that's fantastic. So by the time we get out to the site that might be of interest, either in the business park or the Upper Harbor or somewhere else in the city, the idea is they sort of get a sense of what's going on here. Right. And depending on what that business might be and what that company might be interested in, we might, it might lead to the New Bedford, the regional airport. Right, and there's a fantastic restaurant there, and you can get to the islands in whatever it is, 20, 25 minutes right from that airport. That's a huge asset. It might be that the Riverwalk that's being planned right now getting ready for construction next year. That is a component that works well for that particular company or retail experience. So we really try to tailor not only the physical assets but the programming that's going on. So in the downtown, we have a gallery night called AHA Nights. They happen every month. And there's another 20 or 30 festivals that go on throughout the year. And in the summertime, particularly on the waterfront at State Pier, there's something Mayor Mitchell started, where there's a summer concert series right there in the middle of the working waterfront. And it is incredibly popular, especially when you get into June and July and early August. Those are fantastic events.
So it makes sense for someone that does work in the area to want to live in the area.
Well,
something to do right after work.
Everybody on staff here lives in New Bedford, right? So we're all bought in. We're all true believers, and we love the fact that folks not only have the opportunity to live in the city of New Bedford, either in a great neighborhood or in a condo downtown or in a restored mill. But the surrounding towns really, within 2 minutes of New Bedford, just to any direction, they're the quintessential sort of New England coastal towns where you can get the best of both worlds. Where if you want, you can live in a small New England town like Marion and Mattapoisett, be literally 3 or 4 minutes away from the Zeiterion Performing Arts Center. And last night, Pat Benatar was here, right? So, there were, literally, 1,000 people, outside the theater hanging out. So you can have that sort of, experience in New Bedford. It's something we're proud of.
Well, we have to go to a break. We're talking with Derek Santos. He's the Executive Director of Economic Development Council in New Bedford. And we'll be right back on Money Matters Radio Network.
The next level in commercial real estate. This is New England Real Estate Radio on the Money Matters Radio Network and online at moneymattersboston.com.
Commercial real estate can be a risky endeavor if you don't have all the information you need to make an educated decision. Why spend time digging for data when CompStack provides investors, lenders, and landlords accurate lease comps for office, industrial, and retail properties, starting rents, concessions, and more in just a few clicks? The world's largest investors and lenders use CompStack to benchmark their properties and underwrite their deals. Shouldn't you? CompStack. Better data, better deals. Visit getleasecomps.com today.
And we're back on New England Real Estate Journal Radio. I'm Rick Kaplan with Eric Wilson, and we're sitting here with Derek Santos, Executive Director of Economic Development Council in New Bedford. And we started to talk about some of the things that are going on in New Bedford, and one of the things you mentioned was the industrial park. Tell us a little bit about what's going on in that industrial park.
Well, we consider the New Bedford Business Park or Industrial Park, but we call it the New Bedford Business Park here, as that's one of our greatest economic development assets. Both for the companies that exist there now, we spoke a little bit about that, and for the opportunity that still remains there, both in existing spaces. For new lease opportunities with parent companies who still have some space available, as well as there are 2 prime development opportunities the park is not a new park. It was one of sort of the first business parks in Massachusetts, but there are still 2 great land opportunities left, and we're really excited on seeing how well those fit with either manufacturing or sort of distribution in a way that makes sense to serve the region and the workforce in New Bedford. So that's interesting for us.
What is the size of the business park in acreage as we talk about this?
Sure. So the whole park is 1,000 acres. It's set in the far north end of New Bedford. It has direct highway access. There are literally exit ramps right off the highway that lead to the park. There are 39 companies, and there are 2 parcels left for development. One is a 45-acre parcel that previously could not be gotten to. So over the past couple of years, really is when the Industrial Foundation has really made their push to gain new infrastructure, both in terms of road and sewer and power, to that parcel to create that new opportunity. So for decades, it was this great piece of land that you couldn't get to from here, but now you're able to do that. And there's another parcel, about a 12-acre parcel, direct, sits right adjacent to a rail line. So that's another interesting piece. And that's something now that we're really starting to push on, is those 2 parcels in particular.
And what kind of companies are you trying to attract? It would seem to be manufacturing, made in America type companies. Is that your push, that you want to bring in that manufacturing here to kind of fit with the historical, as you were saying earlier, the workforce, so it's not a huge transfer?
Yeah, and you know what? I would say over the past 3 or 4 years that we've been experiencing here in New Bedford, I'm sure other communities in New England will probably report the same thing, which is there's certainly been a transition where American-made means something a lot more. Not just pride, but there are certainly cost benefits now that aren't as great as they used to be. And there are regulatory requirements that for the medical device companies, for example, and instrumentation, strict regulations there. Precise manufacturing, very strict tolerances, where it means a lot to manufacture at high standards. And we have a workforce that can do that has done that. We have that existing base. So that is really what our push is. For us, it's quite simple, right? So if there are 800 jobs associated with medical device and instrumentation manufacturing in New Bedford, well, how do we turn 800 into 1,000 in the short term, and then how do we go from there in the long term? Right. We are very comfortable being the place where, if research and development is happening in Cambridge, at MIT, as you would expect, but those parts need to be made at a high level of quality, and that's important work, and those are good jobs. Those are jobs that are not going to be, shipped overseas. We want as many of those as possible. There are more than 100 companies in medical device manufacturing, as one example, in sort of the southeastern region of Massachusetts, and growing. And so that's fertile ground for us, and we want to see more of that. So we like the notion of building on an existing strength.
Now, the industrial park, as far as public transportation, what is available to the employees or the companies that move in?
So first, most folks drive to work, and there's direct highway access. It's really easy for employees to get to the business park, and there CERTA does provide bus service as well to the industrial park. So there is public transportation through the regional bus and transit authority, and there's direct highway access for workers. It's an easy spot to get to, no matter where you're coming from, really, in the region, to go to work at the business park.
Now, are there any rail services that come into New Bedford?
New Bedford at the moment does not have. We're in a hiatus of our commuter rail service to Boston. It's something that we've always had since the mid 20th century that has stopped. And we are right now working with a host of other communities in this part of the state and with SERPED. And really, New Bedford Chamber of Commerce has started to play a lead role in this, in what's called Rail to Boston. And it's essentially not creating, we don't view it as creating new rail service to Boston, just reestablishing. So the tracks are all there. Right. Everything is there. It's used for industrial and freight. In doing that work. Jean Fox, who is the head of South Coast Rail for the state, has been a tremendous ally. She's fantastic. And that work continues. And right now that project is getting ready to advance through its final permitting stage.
Well, that's good, because they probably, after this winter, they had a lot of issues. So maybe it was a good thing until you waited till they straightened all that out.
Well, it's been something in this part of the state that's been discussed for a long time, and I think the severe winter, which clearly illustrated that the state's transportation operations management and strategic approach needs attention, right? And Governor Baker has said that. We're excited to be part of the conversation in terms of, how is the state served by the state's, rail service? How does New Bedford fit in that mix, particularly as a means to grow the economy in a part of the state that is, so if that's good for New Bedford and Fall River in this region, that's certainly good for Boston.
So the industrial park tackles distribution and manufacturing, and we were talking a little bit in the first segment about the Upper Harbor. And does that kind of tackle your live, work, play type of atmosphere that the new millennial generation is looking for in the city, which is be able to go to work, shop for groceries, catch a movie or a show, all within the same 10, 15-minute walking area?
No place captures that better than downtown New Bedford.
Okay.
Right, where you have a third of downtown New Bedford is a national historical park, fantastic architecture, a great atmosphere, just tremendous programming. The central part of downtown, great independent shops. So the best taco you're going to have is at No Problemo. Fantastic.
Mark that.
Fantastic coffee and cappuccino at Green Beans. Some of the really amazing homemade and gourmet soups. And my daughter's favorite pizza place is called Brick. Right there, we sort of live a couple of blocks from downtown, so we are always.
So you actually live the work.
So yeah, and there are great opportunities to live down there. So every week, I don't even care if it's the middle of winter, there's a gallery opening going on. There's a programmatic event. Now that the snow is actually melted, I didn't think that it would happen in May, but it has, right?
Right.
No one did.
So now that we've gotten out of that ice age, every week there's something going on. And it's not just on the weekends. The Zeiterion Theater's got all kinds. And it's big shows, it's smaller shows, there's, kid stuff. There's a wide variety of stuff going on. There's a great nightlife. And, so that's the place for young and old, I would say.
Right.
There's plenty of folks that have retired that are mixing in with folks in their 20s.
Of course.
Hanging out at downtown, seeing great bands, enjoying fantastic food. And the arts and culture scene is really fantastic.
So there's something for everyone in the city.
Absolutely.
And being on the water, obviously, there's always something, about being right close to the ocean. When you live in a community where, you can, go to a park in the south end of the city that has, an amazing green open lawn right on Buzzards Bay and walking paths that lead all the way up, and you have this great commercial waterfront, and then you can row in the Upper Harbor, either in eights or in, replica whaleboats. From time to time, you do take that for granted, right? It's always there. It's easy to do. That's why when we're, constantly having either companies or real estate developers or other development professionals come to New Bedford, and it's always great seeing that, through someone who either hasn't been here for a long time or is coming for the first time. So we get to be reacquainted with that, all the time.
Right.
But it is a great treat.
Yeah, that brings me to a question that maybe it's a good one or maybe it's a bad one. Misconception of New Bedford.
Sure.
Because a lot of people haven't been here in a long time. But obviously there's a lot of things that have changed in the city.
New Bedford is no different than any other mid-size urban city. In fact, I've read about 13 or 14 studies on whatever you want to call them, gateway cities, is a phrase in Massachusetts, Brookings. Everybody has a different characterization. But these sort of mid-sized cities that weren't capital cities in their state, right? But were sort of these, regional industrial strengths, in any given state, that after World War II specifically, start to suffer. In their urban blue-collar places, and many of them get, a reputation, deserved or otherwise, that tends to stick with you. So a city is no different than a person,
Right.
You do one bad thing, in your life, you sort of, get known for the rest. It's tough to shake that, right?
Right.
So, and we're well aware that, look, you have a real working class fishing port. You know what I mean? That can be romanticized, in a certain way,
right.
a certain colorful way. And so that's so the negative part of that, New Bedford has certainly had to deal with, deal with that, right? not just externally but internally too. Community sort of, you get to, you grow up in a place, you start to
Right.
feel what other people are saying about your place. And we've worked really hard. Everyone in New Bedford, I'm going to say at least, I've been doing this professionally in New Bedford, either in city government for the Park Service and now with the EDC for about 20 years. There have been literally hundreds and hundreds of people moving that dime along to make sure that New Bedford is known not for what it's not, but for what it is, right? And that's really important to us. We are this fantastic artistic city. We are this great place of culture and historic preservation and precision manufacturing, right? And real craftsmanship. We are all those things. And we are also really proud of the blue-collar work ethic from the past that continues today. And our, certainly our Portuguese, and I'm, very proud, Portuguese kid from a tenement neighborhood, and there are many of us. So we're proud of all that, and how that sort of has diversified over the years has really been amazing,
How is that's like 4 major things we've only discussed with the industrial park, Upper Harbor, downtown, and the waterfront. How has that changed the infrastructure? Has the roads been upgraded? Does everything have to be changed to accommodate all this new development?
Well, we have always been blessed with, tremendous infrastructure and infrastructure capacity. So we have a water treatment facility and system that has capacity that you can't even imagine, right? Whenever you have the world's #1 fishing port and fish processing, you need that. So we're sort of, we're built for some serious, growth. So that's fantastic. And our highway infrastructure has always been, fantastic from the 1950s. And, we have this great hurricane barrier and a deep harbor port, and a regional airport. And we've done very well when we've needed to expand off of that existing infrastructure for new development, to work very well with state partners and federal partners for the resources needed to have that. For example, for the market basket work for the Upper Harbor, when under Governor Patrick, there was a program specific to match infrastructure investment with proposed private sector investment. We had good planning. We had the private sector partners. That additional infrastructure happened. That development happened. That tax revenue happened. Those jobs happened. So whenever we're ready to sort of expand that network, we've had some very good success in doing that.
And what about? I know that we discussed the $1 billion investment for the wind farm that's going to be below Martha's Vineyard. Is there any other type of green initiatives that have been thought of for these type of new developments?
Mayor Mitchell is expert in talking about this, but New Bedford really leads the country in its solar power initiative. Okay. And one of the, I think, certainly the first, I think the only Superfund site to be turned into a solar farm is here in New Bedford. So it's the perfect example of, sort of the sins of the past being used for positive gain. And I believe, aside from Honolulu, per capita, New Bedford generates the most amount of solar power of any city in the country. So renewables is something that we take really seriously. That's why offshore wind, solar, tidal, other things, we're always sort of seeing, that's sort of something that's important to us. That sort of sustainability is important. That comes from, really, to be honest with you, it comes from the fishing community. And New Bedford fishermen, there's no greater advocate for a sustainable fishery than fishermen, right? So that you have to have a sustainable resource, and so that sort of ethic translates into those other areas.
Now, we talked about the fishing industry. Now, that business has changed. That whole industry has changed over the years, and New Bedford has always been known for its fishing industry. What have you changed for the fishermen that are out there?
Well, government regulation, federal government regulation, puts that particular industry in really in a tough spot. And I'm always amazed at their resilience, right? At their ability to work really within almost whatever bounds are set, whether it be days at seas or whatever other restriction. And we have a harbor development commission that, not only advocates, but is working with the fishing community every day. And for us, that's sort of in 3 general buckets. One is groundfish, right? So if you have scrod or fish and chips, right, that's generally groundfish. Scallops is, are huge. Most of our value comes from scallops.
Sweet, because I love those.
And that's good. So I can assure you that if you've had, scallops wrapped in bacon, right, at a cocktail party, they've come from here. I don't care where you are, they're coming from here. And the other thing really is, this doesn't always get played up as much, but fish processing.
Well, that was what I was going to ask.
We really have not just nationally, but global leaders in fish processing in scale. There is stuff that is trucked in and flown in from Europe, from Asia, that shows up, gets processed here because this is the best place to do it, and then gets shipped back out. Wow. So those are 3 of the main buckets. And what we're really seeing in the long term is that, we have a large port, right? So we can sort of walk and chew gum at the same time. And Miriam Mitchell is fond of saying, our strategy for port development is all of the above. We can do cargo, we can do groundfish, we can do scallop, we can do fish processing, we can do heavy cargo as it mixes into that. Where appropriate, pedestrian access and those type of uses, that can also work in well. But as the fishing industry, and we're just seeing this happen over time, is contracting in other places. It just is. A regulation not of our making, right? So the feds are sort of doing this. While it's contracting in other places, it's expanding here in New Bedford. And so that's an interesting piece that we're having to work with. So what we're doing right now is we're working with all of the stakeholders on the waterfront, whether it be fishing, cargo, future for offshore wind and other uses. And we're doing the first land-based master plan since the 1960s. So New Bedford has always done harbor development plans, which is sort of programmatic plans for the water. We're doing the first land-based master plan in forever. We received a grant from the EDA, from the feds to help do that. Our city council helped match that grant. My office is, providing the in-kind support for that. And we're really looking right now, and we'll be finished in the fall, of really answering for the next 10 to 20 years as these new opportunities emerge, as this contraction happens in New Bedford. How does that work, not just for the waterfront, but what impact does that have on the business park in the north end, in the upper harbor, and other areas of the city, whereas waterfront land becomes more and more valuable for waterfront-specific uses? How do you adapt over time to make sure that all your needs are being met?
Now, do you have a cargo port as well in New Bedford, where cargo ships can come in and offload?
Not container, but we do a lot with fruit, cranberries, clementines, and Maritime Terminal is our #1 terminal for that, and we'll see a lot more. We have seen a lot more of that. We're working with the state right now at actually refrigerating a building on State Pier to expand that capacity to see more and more of that. We also have, by the way, 20 or 25 cruise ships a year that come into the port. That's not really known about, but when the weather gets warmer, those folks will be here every weekend as well. Right. So balancing all these things, expanding cargo, expanding cruise ship, a fishing industry. These are all things that absolutely can be done and complement each other. And we have a great team that works on that. We're planning for the future for that right now.
Well, we're going to go to a break right now, Derek. We're going to come back. We're going to sum up all the things that New Bedford has to offer, which is quite a bit. But right now, we'll be right back on Money Matters Radio Network.
In commercial real estate. This is New England Real Estate Radio on the Money Matters Radio Network and online at moneymattersboston.com.
Listen, are you living in a condo or co-op? Do you have difficulty receiving deliveries from UPS, FedEx, or your pharmacy when you're not home? Well, there's a solution. Video Doorman. It's a security system with live on-call operators for condos and co-ops that receives packages when you're out, stores them in a safe package room, and then notifies you about your delivery. They can even handle dry cleaning, pickup, and delivery. But there's more. If you come home late at night and don't feel safe, just press the Video Doorman key fob, and the Video Doorman operator will greet you by name and escort you right up to your floor. He can see you and speak to you and handle any potential problem. And Video Doorman costs only about $1 a day. Call Video Doorman at 888-697-3630 or visit videodoorman.com to receive a free building evaluation. That number again is 888-697-3630. Call now, feel safer, and never miss a delivery again.
Rick Kaplan on the Money Matters Radio Network and online at moneymattersboston.com.
And we're back on New England Real Estate Journal Radio. I'm Rick Kaplan with Eric Wilson, and we're talking with Derek Santos, Executive Director of Economic Development Council of New Bedford. And we went over so much, Derek, in the last half hour about New Bedford. I mean, there's so much to offer here. I just want to summarize some of it, so because I can't believe that more people don't look at the area for manufacturing or just to come to redevelop some of the area.
It's a hidden, in some ways it's a hidden gem. For those of us that live here or live nearby, it's sort of a well-known gem, and they're, certainly.
You've been trying to keep it a secret.
Certainly, not in our office, not at all. We believe that New Bedford can be, one of the greatest seaport communities in America. So we're pretty proud of ourselves right now. But, our goal is, just an absolute national reputation as just an amazing seaport community. And, a diverse community. So, and that means everything. That means culturally diverse. That means opportunities for large-scale manufacturing and distribution to small-scale and family-owned retail and galleries. And that means from, if you want to live in a rural sort of wooded setting, you can do that in New Bedford. If you want to live in a historic house, you can do that. If you want to live in in the middle of downtown in on the 12th floor of a building overlooking the bay, you can do that as well. So really, in every aspect, we have that to offer, and we're excited about having new folks come into the mix.
Now, it's also affordable. When I say affordable, compared to
high value.
Living in the city of Boston.
You meant like, you're not affordable housing. You meant like
right,
like your pocket could.
Right.
So
the
high value is a much better term.
Right. It's not the multi-millionaire comes to build his house here. He could come to build his house here, but it's for the average Joe, more or less.
Right, the working class.
Yeah, the working class.
I would say this. What about the river with all the mills, the textile mills? Are those being renovated to be lofts, residential units, 2-3 bedrooms, or is it more, as he was saying, for the single person, individual apartments, something like that? And have you guys even thought about micro units?
When you have a couple million square feet of mill space, right? Micro units isn't the first stop on that journey. But the housing that's been developed in New Bedford in the historic mills, let's use that as an example, right? Because it hits on, I think, both points. The units are fantastic. They're loft style units. They're large, right? We're talking about units that are 1,000 square feet plus. Some are bigger. That's a house. Right? I think my first house, I don't think was 1,100 square feet, and they're really well done, and they are market rate. And the amazing thing that we found is that market rate units in New Bedford, for a lot of the folks that are discovering New Bedford and moving into New Bedford, are finding those opportunities because they're saying, I can drive just a little further south, and my rent just went down by a factor of 50%.
Right.
So there's tremendous value for that type of environment for someone who wants to rent. We have some amazing historic homes, and you can buy a great house for south of $400,000 or $500,000, and sort of like compare that to a more Boston-centric real estate listing, and you're going to find just a tremendous value there.
Yeah, and plus on top of all of that, you're right on the water.
On top of all that,
very close.
What I was going to say about the hidden gem, I would say, this is one of my first times in New Bedford, is you're close to everything. So I mean, you're literally 30-minute drive from Cape Cod, which is closer than Boston is to Cape Cod. If you want to go anywhere that's, I guess, vacationing outside of Boston, you're looking at an hour ride to Portsmouth, up to Portland. Here you're looking at a 30-minute ride, 30 minutes to Providence, 35 probably up north to Boston, well, maybe 40 to Boston if you went up 24. I mean, you're literally centrally located perfectly and on the water.
And you have the ferries to
yeah,
the
you have the
islands.
ferries to the vineyard where you don't even have to go to the Cape if you want to go to the vineyard.
So the ferry is a great point. So, you know, if you live downtown or visiting downtown and you just say, you know, we're here for a couple of days and, you know, the weather's fantastic. We want to use one of those days. We want to go to the vineyard. Okay.
Right.
Walk down Union Street, cross the street, jump on the C Street ferry to the vineyard, spend the day in the vineyard, come on back, come hang out with us at Cork or Rose Alley Ale House, you know, at night and listen to a good band. And that's a typical day. That's no problem. And yeah, jetting to Providence, 35, 40 minutes, no problem here and back. So that location sort of in, you know, that sort of great little New England sweet spot is really fantastic.
So the work, live, and play concept is it almost to the
Started here in New Bedford.
Well, it's almost an extreme work, live, and play because you have great places to work here. Mm-hmm. You have a tremendous amount of history, and you have the waterfront, and you have the municipal airport.
Yeah.
You know, so there's so many things that the city has to offer that, I mean, you could really live, work, and play.
You never have to leave if you didn't want to.
Right, you'd never have to leave.
Live, work, play, and eat. Some of the greatest Portuguese restaurants, you know, in America.
And that's one of the things. Eric's been online looking at all the different restaurants in New Bedford.
I do. I tend to do that.
He wants to tour some of those.
On location shows, you should eat the local cuisine, and then you can comment on it.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I'm excited.
Actually, we have done our show in Lincoln City of Hartford. Mm-hmm. We've done our show in restaurants.
Right. Well, that's my choice. Yeah. But I really am impressed with everything that's going on. How's it been on you? Is it hectic? Are you doing 14-hour days because you have all this stuff going on, or is it a good 14-hour days?
I think everybody on Team New Bedford, right? Mm-hmm. And that's not just the EDC. That's City Hall. That's private sector. You know, everybody works hard. Everybody works, you know, long hours. I'll tell you one thing. There's never a day that I've worked as hard or as long as a guy that's on a scalloper, right? Mm-hmm. So that's always good to sort of, you know, keep in perspective. But you know, I got to be honest with you. It's the best job in the city. I'm, you know, certainly, I don't think just for myself, but for the rest of the team here, you know, we definitely have that feeling that, you know, we have a great gig. We love it. It's our hometown. You know, it's an amazing thing that you're able to do for your hometown. So, you know, it's a pleasure to have the opportunity. You know, so I definitely say that.
Right.
And
you're right in the middle of this reinvention.
Yeah, right. I can see all the new development and all the changes that are going on. That you know, seeing that happening, that's very rewarding as well.
Yeah. Look, every day, right? Every day isn't any job, right? There are 5 things that go well, 2 things you got to figure out a different solution to. So that's the same for anything, and you know, we're just glad to be doing it, and glad to be doing it here in New Bedford.
Now,
I certainly learned a lot.
Yes, and I definitely learned a lot about New Bedford.
I may have to check out that museum.
If you could sum up the city of New Bedford in just a couple of words, how would you sum it up?
I think it's just the you know, quintessential seaport community, and you know, we are proud of our, you know, industrial background and culture, and you know, that's sort of our background for, you know, how we want to move forward in the future.
And if a developer, how would you pitch a developer in just a couple of words? You know, just you know, what are some of the
a nice little teaser? Yeah,
the teasers that you would say to a developer.
Well, I think that we offer tremendous value. We're a community that knows what we want, and what we're really looking for in a developer is a partner to do good work, have a great impact on the community, and a good impact for the developer's own, goals in terms of what their outcomes are, whether it be real estate or the private sector. But the main message that we get across to developers is we want to see each other as partners.
Mm-hmm. Now, just quickly, there was a report out in the Boston Globe about a casino coming into the city or wanting to come into the city of New Bedford. If you just want to comment on that shortly. Sure.
KG Urban has been in New Bedford for more than 10 years with a waterfront casino. We've been talking about the waterfront and that experience. And they're an applicant in Region C, the third region in Massachusetts for a casino license. And they're going through that process now with the Gaming Commission. And there are other communities in the region that will have applications as well. One is in Brockton. There's another application that we think will come out of Somerset. And so we're eager to see how that process goes forward, but we're excited about that being one component of the waterfront development and how that fits into the larger strategy. So we're definitely eager to see that progress.
I would say
one extra bonus for the city.
Right. I would say made in America by New Bedford.
Hey, I like that.
Right.
New slogan.
That's
just happened here.
Sounds good.
It'll be on the back of our business cards by Friday.
We were talking with Derek Santos, the Executive Director of Economic Development Council in New Bedford, and we appreciate you coming on the show, Derek. And you overwhelmed us with all the information you gave us on New Bedford. We was kind of surprised the things that New Bedford has to offer. But
it's just good to see after all that stuff.
Yeah, that's right. But we'll be right back on Money Matters Radio Network.
Rick Kaplan is right here on the Money Matters Radio Network.
And we're back on New England Real Estate Journal Radio. I'm Rick Kaplan with Eric Wilson, and we're coming to a close of another show, Eric.
We are.
And
another great show.
Yes, and we learned a tremendous amount about the city of New Bedford. And,
my new home.
And now Eric wants to move here.
Well, I mean, they got everything. They got the waterfront, good food, which I love, and easy driving.
And I'm thinking of moving here, too, because I love being on the waterfront.
You do?
I love the ocean. And, as we, drove up here, we were looking at some of the beautiful sites you have that oversee the water.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just great.
Right before we pulled in, the building right across from us has a mural across all over the wall. And it's actually beautiful of all the whales. And right then I was like, man, this could be me.
And I never come down to this area, but now that the summer's here, I think I'm going to travel a little more to New Bedford because there's a lot of things to do here.
I agree with you. Because I live on Route 3, and I literally don't live off of anything off Route 3 or 95. I don't even go 93 because I don't like going through the city traffic. So, but now with this job and all the great cities I've got the chance to see,
we have a lot of developers that have been looking to move out of the city of Boston or in the suburbs close to the city. And, this is like a perfect opportunity. New Bedford, where you're right near the water, you have land available to develop.
57 acres.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity here in New Bedford. So, if you're thinking about it, I would give Derek Santos a call.
Check out Brick.
I'm sure he'd be more than happy to show you around the city.
Definitely.
So, Eric, we have some events that are coming up.
We do. We have. We'll be in the Connecticut Economic Business Council's Expo.
Yes.
And that is May 28th, I believe, or 26th. I think it's May 28th.
Yes,
it's Thursday, May 28th.
And then we have the Connecticut Business Journal. What is it? The
Hartford Business Journal.
Hartford Business Journal.
Yeah, and that's in June.
Yeah, that will be in June. We also have the NEREJ Cocktails and Conversations in Providence, Rhode Island.
Which is only a 30-minute
actually,
drive.
It's in Warwick, Rhode Island.
Oh, which is still only a 30-minute drive.
Yeah, that's
maybe
only
closer. It might even be 22.
And that's on June 24th at the Crown Plaza Hotel.
So we're out and about.
We are.
Living the dream.
And next week, I think we'll be back in the studio.
Boo.
No, actually, I'm not sure if we'll be back in the studio.
You never know.
You never know where we might show up.
But you can always find us on YouTube.
That's right.
At NEREJ Journal.
Or NEREJ Radio. And you can also listen to us on nerej.com/radio or NYREJ/radio.
Oh, right here. On Money Matters Radio Network.
On Money Matters Radio Network. Also Spreaker. Stitcher. I don't know where they come up with all these names, but these
They
are all
all end
podcast stations that are out there.
In Boston, they all sound like they end with an A.
That's just when I say them.
Right.
But it was a great show today. We want to
Thank
thank
you again,
Derek Santos, the Executive Director of Economic Development and Economic Development Council in the city of New Bedford. And Eric,
Yes, Rick.
this deal is done.